Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Michael Kosterlitz, a theoretical physicist and Nobel laureate who is a pioneer of abstract mathematics and its real-world applications in physics. Born in Aberdeen, Scotland, Professor Kosterlitz obtained his undergraduate and master's degrees at Cambridge University, followed by a doctorate at Oxford University in 1969. Following postdoctoral positions at Torino, Birmingham, and Cornell universities, Professor Kosterlitz joined the academic staff in the Department of Physics at Brown University in 1982, where he serves as the Harrison E. Farnsworth Professor of Physics. In the early 1970s, Michael Kosterlitz worked with Dr. David Thallis on the subject of topology, a mathematical study of the properties that are preserved through deformations, twistings, and stretchings of objects. Using topology as a tool, they were able to show how very thin, two-dimensional materials could transition in and out of these exotic states, overturning the then current theory that superconductivity could not occur in thin layers. Their work showed that 2D materials, though not ordered in the same way that crystalline 3D materials are, have a quasi-order at low temperatures generated by paired, tightly bound vortices and antivortices. As these materials are heated, the vortices become unbound and scatter, disrupting the quasi-order. The unbinding of these vortices and the resulting loss of order are now known as the Kosterlitz-Thallis transition. This discovery has revolutionized knowledge about phase transitions and a great deal of research about how topological materials could be used in new generations of electronics and superconductors or in future quantum computers. For his exceptional contributions to theoretical physics, Professor Kosterlitz was awarded the Maxwell Medal, the Lars Onzucker Prize, and fellowship in the American Physical Society and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. In 2016, the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences awarded Michael Kosterlitz, along with David Thallis and Duncan Haldane, the Nobel Prize in Physics for theoretical discoveries of topological phase transitions and topological phases of matter. Thanks to this pioneering work, current research is revealing the secrets of matter in these exotic worlds with potential applications in material science and electronics. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Professor Michael Kosterlitz so that you may confer upon him the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
It's now my great honor to invite McGill's most recent graduate to address convocation, Dr. Kosterlitz.
Chancellor Megan, Principal and Vice Chancellor Fortier, Mr. Panda, Chair of the Board of Governors, proud families and guests, and most of all, members of the graduating class of 2019. It is a great honor to be here and speak to you. However, I really don't know what inspiring things to say to you, as I'm more of a mathematician than an orator. But I suppose the best thing I can do is endeavor to tell you about my journey to Stockholm and the Nobel Prize in the hopes of showing you that not all paths to success are necessarily smooth ones. Indeed, despite the Vice-Chancellor introduction, which makes my progress from Cambridge undergraduate to Nobel laureate sound well organized and straightforward, it was anything but that. In fact, I like to think of my journey to Stockholm as a random walk through physics, because my Nobel Prize was a combination of about 95% dumb luck and maybe 5% smarts. The luck was being in the right place at the right time and doing the right problem, while the smarts was the ability just to do the necessary arithmetic. Although it did not seem so at the time, the right place was the Department of Mathematical Physics at Birmingham University, and the right time was the early 1970s, and the right problem was the one that David and Thales and I did. Of course, at the time, I had no idea that I would end up doing a postdoc at Birmingham for several reasons. In 1969 to 70, after getting a DPhil at Oxford, I was a postdoc in high energy physics at Torino University in Italy. Now, Torino was very carefully chosen, not only because of its physics, but most importantly, because of its proximity to the Alps. At the time, I was a very keen rock climber, and believe it or not, I was actually quite good at it. In fact, I was good enough to seriously consider giving physics up to become a professional climber, although ultimately this was vetoed by my girlfriend, then girlfriend Berit, and now my wife of 49 years. Now, for a high-energy physicist in 1970, the place to go after Torino was CERN in Geneva, which combined excellent mountains with quite good physics. It was therefore my plan to go to CERN after my postdoc. Although, predictably, of course, my plan was thwarted by my customary disorganization. I'm sure some of you out there can relate. Indeed, I failed to submit my application to CERN in a timely manner and got the reply, sorry, all the desk space has been taken. You should have applied earlier. Unemployment now loomed over me, but luckily my girlfriend walked down to the Torino railway station to buy an English newspaper, where I was able to scroll through the advertisements looking for a job. Imagine, no LinkedIn, no internet, nothing. Fate was with us. We found a couple of advertisements for physics jobs, for which I duly applied. I was offered a couple of positions and chose a 2-year research fellowship at the Department of Mathematical Physics at Birmingham University. Now, Birmingham was the last place I wanted to be because all I knew about Birmingham was that it was a big industrial city making cars and things in the flat middle of England with no mountains in sight. In hindsight, of course, it turns out that professionally this was the best choice I could have made. Although, of course, I didn't know it at the time and was certainly not too thrilled to be where I was. In my first year or two, I continued my long, tedious high-energy calculations. I wrote up my results several times, hoping to be published, but was repeatedly thwarted by a group from Berkeley, which published first, sending me into a spiral of frustration and desperation. Eventually, being unable to take it any longer, I descended on my colleagues, asking if they might have an interesting problem that perhaps I could look at. The answer in general was no. As luck had it, Professor David Thales, with whom I eventually shared the Nobel Prize, had an interesting proposition in condensed matter physics. He was interested in a class of unsolved problems in 2 dimensions, such as the onset of superfluidity and superconductivity in very thin films. I found his ideas very difficult and very challenging at first. I mean, they involved such weird words and concepts such as topology and things of that nature, about which I knew absolutely nothing. But at one point, they started to make some sense. Now, Thales was a hard taskmaster, but an excellent mentor. We discussed things further and wrote up a couple of papers which solved a long-standing problem of 2-dimensional phase transitions. In fact, at age 31, I did my most important work, for which, many years later, I ended up receiving my shared Nobel Prize in 2016. Now, this was the trajectory of my own path, often crooked and at times seemingly aimless, which led to some moderately important work. And I hope my story has given you some of you hope and some encouragement as you sit here today. At the start of a new path, there is often a light at the end of a tunnel, no matter how difficult the path you're on seems to be at this present time. Whether you choose to pursue the path Whether you choose to pursue a career in academics, as I did, or in a more applied role at a corporation, government, or perhaps even as a budding entrepreneur, the road to success will always have bumps. My hope is to remind you that, can't turn a piece of paper over, that even events that seem like a setback at the time can turn out to be fortuitous, and if not, at least they may become a lesson learned. Like me, I hope you may always have friends and family to support you in your endeavors, and you never forget that recognition of your achievements can be better late than never. My main lesson is go for what you love, what inspires you, and never give up. Embrace change, get comfortable at being uncomfortable, and stay hungry, but be humble. This last quotation I stole from the CEO of Samsung North America, as I think it's very appropriate. Thank you for listening. Good luck to you all, and congratulations on your wonderful achievement today. Thank you.